Hi, it's us. James's chair is busted as fuck. It's the wobble for me. It's the teeter. The teeter wobble. The wobble teeter, if you will. You ready? I mean, you've got time. We're gonna give people some time to get here, but you sound sleepy.
I'm very sleepy.
I told you to drink the coffee that was in the fridge.
That movie was not engaging.
It's a drug trip. I was going to say something, but I won't. I'm just gonna put that thought in a box. Put it in the back of my brain. You gotta wake up a little bit. You gotta talk about it.
Not true.
You gotta talk about
That's
it.
not true.
That's literally why we're here.
I can make shit up.
Okay, but
so good at it.
You have to be awake to make shit up.
Nah.
I did have to continuously prod James to keep him awake during the movie, which does not bode well for the movie's rating on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
How are you doing other than sleepy?
I'm sleepy.
I am also pretty sleepy, but I'm more awake than you. Oh no, Hannah's worried. You've concerned our friends.
Well, maybe. It should have been different.
Was David Bowie's junk not enough to keep you awake, James? What else is new? Anything new happened to you this week? I watched House of the Dragon. All of it. Oh, and I have a new episode today. Heck yeah! I consumed so much House of the Dragon content this week. I watched the entire first season, caught up to the second season, watched all the new Rockstars breakdowns, shout out to them. And then I watched all the CinemaSins for the first season. And then I ran out of things to watch. Season 2 is not done yet. It's in progress. I have episode 3 to watch tonight. Or tomorrow at work, which would probably be a better use of my time. But yeah, no, I literally went down the rabbit hole. It's good. It's good. I like it as much as I like Game of Thrones. I found my most least favorite character ever in the Game of Thrones franchise, I guess. Universe.
Yeah.
We are going to do a whole entire Umbrella Academy recap for all the seasons post it coming out and also post birth, because we're kind of excited actually, because there's a lot of good shows coming out while we're on maternity leave that will occupy some of our time when we're not caring for baby. So yeah, no, we're excited. It'll be a full Umbrella Academy show recap. It'll look a little bit different when it does happen, because we're not going to sit there and talk about like the entire plot breakdown. We'll give a summary of each season and then kind of talk about our likes and dislikes about the season and the show and that sort of thing. But yeah, that'll be happening sometime in August, September, probably. All right, hockey boy, it's time. You got to come over here and talk about the movie.
Oh, talk hockey.
We're not talking about hockey. We're talking about the Labyrinth.
Podcast about hockey.
You could do a podcast about hockey. I won't have. It would be like Go My Favorite Sports Team podcast. It would be
me, very knowledgeable about hockey. You,
0.
Just a big fan of the Avs.
Me, I like watching.
I like it when they skate real fast.
I don't like it when things get tense or when they take the goalie out of the goal. Those are my two.
Oh my god, I could have a fucking episode, like an hour-long episode rant about what a stupid fucking decision it is to pull the goalie. no matter how badly you're losing.
I hate it. It stresses me out.
Now, once again, it is fine in one instance. And you remember what that was? It happened during the finals. When you have games in the bank and you're not going to lose the series. Like when you're in the playoffs and you have to win a certain number of games to move on. Yeah. If you have games in the bank and it's not make or break if you lose a game and you need to score a goal, pull the fucking goalie.
I've realized that recording this podcast is about the same as talking to you in your car right now. Because
What do you mean?
I have to look this way, and because if I look back here,
right, and I just don't even fucking acknowledge the camera. I'm just right here, beaming lasers into the side of your head.
All right, we gotta get started. Because we have questions about the movie that are already popping up. Right. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to David Bowie's Nightmare Circus Bonanza. How can I serve you?
James has been holding on to that joke for at least 2 hours.
30 seconds.
I thought that's what you named your notes.
That's what I named my notes, but I didn't. I started and everything left my brain immediately, except for David Bowie's massive dick.
I'm America. That's James. This is CityWaves Entertainment.
Is it?
And we watched The Labyrinth.
Is this entertaining? I hope so. Jesus Christ, I hope so, because if I have to suffer through more of these godforsaken 1980s drug trip fuck-off movies for no one's entertainment, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind.
It's entertaining to me at the very least.
I'm glad it's entertaining to you. Jesus.
To start us off, we did have a question that popped up right before I hit record, which is, what was worse for you? David Bowie's weird sexual tension, Jennifer Connelly's puffy sleeves, or the puppets?
David Bowie's weird sexual tension, because it doesn't belong, and it doesn't. If there was an angle to really like paint the Goblin King as worse, like more evil, they could have gone that route, because David Bowie was may he rest in peace, a overly sexualized individual.
See,
and even just in his rock star heyday, that was his whole vibe to an extent. And so if they really wanted to lean into that angle of him being the bad guy, they could have. But if they did that, if they leaned too hard on that weird sexual tension, then it wouldn't be a kid's movie anymore, because the themes would be too adult.
That's fair.
So I think it's a bit cursed, because the sexual tension exists for two reasons. The horrible fucking costuming. I mean, just the worst costuming. Just of him. No one has bad costumes in the movie except for him. He's the only one who does. They don't make sense and they're awful to look at. So the costumes are the one thing, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing is the weird bubble masquerade ball.
Oh, I thought you were just going to talk about his bubble magic.
His weird little balls? No, not worried about his weird little balls.
Are you sure?
Well, it's his massive hog that's really taking main stage here. But no, that weird little masquerade ball is it's backstopped by a love song that David Bowie wrote about a person of age. Mm-hmm. So it's not like we're being tricked into feeling like it's a perverted moment. But the Goblin King, through actions and words, never once makes an overly sexual remark or move towards Jennifer Connelly's character, Sarah. So the sexual tension in this movie is there, but I think it's there because we put it there. I don't think it's there because it was there on set. I don't think it's there because it was there when they wrote the script. Because there's nothing else that builds into it that I could see. I could be wrong. But you look at it and you know through context that David Bowie's like this. So you expect a certain way about him. And then you have a couple of scenes where it's like, ooh, the vibe's off. But the vibe is just off. It's not that the vibe is predatory. The vibe's just off. And it's because all the sequences are drug sequences. So to answer the question, the sexual tension is the worst part of the movie, but it's not an actual part of the movie. It's a part of the viewing experience based on the context of who's in it, the song that was used, and that's it. I think we as audience put that on the movie, but if you look very objectively at the movie, it doesn't reflect that at all.
David Bowie giving Big Dick Ezio a run for his money doesn't help at all.
No, it does not help that he has a blessed cock.
Yup. I got to make that reference for long-standing viewers of the channel. And I'm really excited. Speaking of long-standing viewers, did you message our
No, I will.
Okay. So yeah. While James is doing that, I watched this before. It was one of my mom's favorite movies, and it's okay. I enjoy it, but it's not like something I go out of my way to watch. I do acknowledge the master class that Jim Henson puts on, because it's insane. The amounts of detail, how skilled he is, like his whole team, everything. There's so many puppets, and just the amount of work that takes is insane. So like from a cinematic and artistic perspective, I think this movie has a lot going for it.
Cinematic?
Again,
Cinematic?
Again, because it's the art form. It's the puppets and how, and the sets and the everything. Like there's just a lot of work put into it that you don't really see all that much anymore. That's my 2 cents. James has more thoughts.
Well, listen, we'll start with the animated owl from Windows 95. Woof. Now listen, this movie came out in the year of our Lord, 1986. That is 9 years before I was born. So it's not a young movie, as it were. The technology at the time didn't allow for good CG, so it gets a pass. But your opening sequence with that owl is just horrible to look at. I mean, I've looked at Avengers movies where I look at the screen and I go, I don't even know what's being rendered. I don't know what's happening here. And that's the same thing I thought when this owl that was 2.5-bit appeared on my screen and flew around to a David Bowie song. Another point, I really like having credits at the beginning of a movie.
I did too, I decided.
I watching this movie, I liked it. I wouldn't have known fucking Frank Oz was in the movie if I hadn't watched it. But
I mean, it's a Jim Henson production, so he like package deal.
A lot of people really dislike having credits at the beginning of the movie. They want to just get right into the experience. But I think it's a nice homage to the people who make the product, because I mean, if you've ever been to a movie theater ever in the last 20 some odd years, before Marvel stuck a mid-credit roll, people would just get up and leave.
Yeah.
As soon as the credits hit. And that, while I get it, you have stuff to do, things to do, is sort of a disservice to the people who make the film. So I always enjoyed seeing a movie that at very least credits the director, maybe sometimes the cinematographer, and at least the leading cast right at the jump. So I appreciated that right from the get-go.
I normally am an anti credits at the beginning of movies person. I think it depends on how you do it.
What if you do it with a 1986 CG owl rendered on a microwave?
I didn't mind it this time. Because I agree with you. I think that you need to give respect to the people that did the art, and whether that be the acting, the directing, whatever. I do think that Marvel kind of course corrected
Too hard.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I think they, like, when they started, I think they did course correct, because then you would, like, even in movies that aren't Marvel movies now, I, like, feel obligated to stay through the entire credits to see if there's something more at the end. But I think that it serves us, and we do it when we play games on this channel, which, yes, I know it's been an eternity.
We let the credits roll on
We
the
always
games that
let
we
the
finish.
yeah, we always let the credits roll on the games that we finish, because it's important to acknowledge how much hard work is put into these things, and all the people that do it, not just one person or the other. So no, I agree, but I think there's good ways to do it, and I think there's bad ways to do it.
Well, let's get into this nightmare. We start with Sarah LARPing.
Yeah.
To which I asked a very pertinent question, what year is it? Because they did a really good job of in this opening set of shots tricking you into not knowing what the fuck year it is or what's about to go down. Because you have Sarah come out in her, let's be honest, Renaissance fair garb and deliver a soliloquy into the camera, and then she goes, "Oops, I forgot my line." And you're like, "Now wait a minute. Is this a Blazing Saddles-esque movie? Like, are we tongue in cheek here? I'm not sure
Nah, she's just a
what we're
theater
doing."
kid.
No.
She's just a theater kid.
And so that was a good little loop-de-loop. And then she has to go home because we have to rush character development. We've got 4 minutes to do character development before we start the action. Okay? So we're gonna do it. She gets back home in the rain, and guess what? Every human you see from here to the end of the movie is a bitch. Every one of them. Stepmom, bitch. Dad, bitch. Toby, he's cool. Goblin King, bitch.
Ludo?
Not a human.
Oh, human. Carry on.
I said human.
Is the Goblin King truly a human, though? He's more like a fae.
The Goblin King is in her imagination.
No,
Yeah,
he's real.
no, you're high.
I wish.
I missed the part where you did drugs in the middle of the movie, but you're on something.
No.
Dude, she gets back home, and it's one of the most rushed character development sequences of all time. She gets home, and the stepmom's like, "The dog has to go to the garage. And also, fuck you for being late." And she's like, "Yeah, I know I'm late. I'm sorry. Fuck you for being you." And everyone's mad at each other. And then the dad goes, "I'll talk to her," because broken home. And then she just goes up to her room and throws a tantrum.
I will
for 30 seconds.
I will say the rushing through, like, the character development and giving, like, Sarah all these reasons to be upset makes her feel way over dramatic.
It makes it disingenuous.
Yes.
Like, you could have given me an extra 10 minutes of screen time interacting with family, and it would have been even better to make them slow burn situations where it starts friendly and sours with every family member. A nice conversation with the stepmom, maybe the dog can come inside, and then it sours. The dog tracks mud or something, and it's a fucking to-do. Sure, let that simmer. Then you have the dad. He, to his credit, like, tries a little bit, and you don't really know that he's a bitch until later. It's at the end of the movie where it's revealed that he's a bitch. But he, like, tries, to his credit, to be like, "Hey, here's the information. We're fucking off. Goodbye." And, you know, that's nice. But he doesn't, like, do anything with authority at all. He's got the spine of a fucking pool noodle. And she just gets screamy about it for literally no reason. I mean, he doesn't give her an ounce of a reason to be mad at him at all. And when she has the line where she goes, "You really did want to talk to me," and then slams her door open, I was admittedly very confused because he said he wanted to talk to her, and she was like, "Fuck you." And then she was like, "Oh no, you did. Fuck you." And I was confused. I didn't understand. But you know what? I've never once been a 16-year-old girl. So all credit to her for the way that she feels, I guess. But it's a bit dramatic.
I will say hormones in that age do
spinning at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Do make you do crazy things to the point that like you get done with like your little fit and you like look around and go, who the fuck was just talking out of my mouth? Like it doesn't make logical sense, and those feelings are so strong and so real in the moment, but you do come out of it sometimes. And it's kind of reminds me when Toby does eventually disappear and she goes, "Oh wait, fuck."
Oh, shit.
Like you come out of it and you're like, I didn't mean to say half the things that I said. I don't know who that was. I'm sorry. Like, but yeah, no,
you issue a politician's retraction.
It's kind of like that because those feelings were real, but like later on looking back, you're like, okay, no, I was kind of being a little bit crazy. I was kind of a little bit insane. I'm sorry.
You know, I'll give credit where credit's due. She has a meltdown, and I've seen many teenagers in my life, and briefly was one. Meltdowns happen with frequency, great frequency, and you know, maybe there's other stuff going on that caused that one to occur. But for me, the audience member, it would have been nicer if we had a little more there to give credence to the meltdown happening. I'm not saying you need to get rid of it. I'm not saying you need to tone it down even. What I'm saying is there wasn't enough build for this level of explosive meltdown for me.
Yeah, because what it leads to is it feels like Jennifer Connelly is overacting.
Yeah, she has a couple of moments where you're like, oh, all right, you're not on a stage. Chill out.
But I don't think that's her fault necessarily because of the way
the script is.
I think it just makes you feel that way because of how rushed it is. There's not enough time for, like James said, for those moments to build and for that to develop. So you just feel like she's going around going, for like zero reason. But yeah.
So then the parents leave and Toby is upset. Now, I have spent in this day, whatever fucking day it is, many hours learning about babies. And what I have learned tells me that if Toby truly has just eaten, he's got like 2, maybe 3 good reasons to be crying. And no one explained any of those reasons to the teenager, so she is not prepared to deal with the crying baby who needs help.
I mean, she watches him every weekend, though, according to the argument.
Oh my god, I forgot about the "you should be having dates" comment from the stepmom.
Yeah.
Woof. Oh my god. You know she LARPs in the forest. She doesn't have dates. She doesn't know anyone. She doesn't have friends.
You gotta be nice to us theater kids over here, cause
she's not a theater kid. She's one of mine.
I think she's both. Why can she not be both? She has playbills of her acting in like her room and stuff.
She's got posters. She doesn't have playbills.
No, and she has a little scrapbook when you're like doing the whole room view, and it has like playbills with her
from her dead mother.
Oh, is it her mom?
I think her mom was a theater kid, and she goes out into the woods and LARPs because she loves high fantasy. Because she reads the high fantasy book and she's trying to memorize the monologue from the high fantasy book. And she keeps not being able to memorize the monologue from the high fantasy book. And you know what happens to kids who go out and LARP in the woods and can't memorize the monologue to the high fantasy book? They don't go on fucking dates, babe. They don't go on fucking dates. I went through most of high school and didn't go on fucking dates. But you know how many monologues I memorized from high fantasy books? Like 2. So they play D&D. They're like me. She's not a theater kid. She's theater adjacent. Kind of like me. You know how you did theater? You are not like me. We did things different. You had dates. I fucking didn't. She's in my camp, okay? I felt that in my soul when her stepmom said, you should be having dates at this age. And I went, ooh, don't say that. That's mean.
That's true. She was a theater kid. She would
have a showmance a week.
Yeah, and she'd be at rehearsal. So, you know what? Fair.
She can't be in shows. She's babysitting. She's got shit going on.
You know what? Fair.
You misread the fuck out of that one.
You win. You can claim Sarah, I guess.
She lives in my little camp of nerds. Anyways, no, she's not prepared to fucking deal with this baby because I don't think anyone's actually explained to her how to deal with a baby who's just eaten. They need help. Also, Toby's like, walk.
Yeah.
That is not a baby, really.
I mean,
anymore.
He could be anywhere between like, he could be right before 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in the baby toddler transition stage.
You're moving through.
Yeah.
It's unclear. A side note for cinema, the intercutting to the puppets slowly waking up and being edged by the monologue of get rid of the baby.
No.
I mean, they're all just sitting there going, yeah, yeah. Except for the one guy who's really slow. He was going, did she do it? Yeah. And everyone said, shut the fuck up, Leroy. Say the words. That felt a little unhinged. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's what you just did felt more unhinged than the movie.
No.
Oh my god!
That was just fun. Listen, I had my fruit juice. Okay, I'm feeling it right now.
I need to go.
No, so
I have not done enough drugs or drank enough to be part of this podcast right now, is what I have decided.
It was even more funny and more edging when she fucked up the words and they were like, yes, yes, yes. And then they were like, don't son of a bitch. God damn it. Why can't you do anything right? God fucking shit. And then she says it and they were like, oh. And that was it. From then on, the movie becomes a whole entire drug trip. Courtesy of one puppet man. Because he wrote the motherfucker.
And George Lucas.
And George Lucas was just sort of like there in the background, being weird, wandering through the camera shots. Those goblins moved fast as fuck.
Yeah, no, she said it.
They came from the imagination world and started rifling through the closets for loose change and babies almost immediately. Like they were hunting for loot.
I mean, it's magic. She said the magic.
It's not magic, it's fucking pretend.
It's magic. She said the magic words, they come and take the baby. The end.
We need to get something straight, all right? We need to get something locked in here, okay?
Okie dokie.
Is this movie a high fantasy dream? Or is this movie Wonka, but different?
You lost me.
You see, in the movie Wonka, which we have recently recorded a podcast about, a bunch of magic bullshit happens for no reason. Is this movie like that? Or is this movie a dream so we can explain away all the bullshit that doesn't make sense?
I'd put this more in the camp of Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland.
Right, so it's a dream.
We don't want to start this argument here.
Oh, she died in that tornado.
No! We don't want to. And Neverland, we're gonna open a can of worms about my psyche that we do not have time for if we start talking about whether or not these.
Oh, Alice in Wonderland got hit on the head.
These stories are dreams or alternate universes, and we don't have time to get into that.
It's a dream.
No.
Yes. Yes, it's a dream. This is a dream.
It's not, because there's real world, like, long-lasting consequences to the dream. The dream affects the real world. So if it is a dream, the psyche is pressing out into the universe.
In what way are there real world consequences to the dream where the deadline is set and everything is rectified within the confines of the deadline?
Well, not... Are we talking wide scale now, or are we back to the Labyrinth?
Back to the Labyrinth.
Okay.
We're locked in on the Labyrinth.
Okay.
I'm not gonna fucking bother arguing with you about silly little things that I don't care about.
Okay. As far as the Labyrinth, my argument for it being real versus dream is the end scene where all the creatures are partying in her bedroom.
That's what you're hinging your argument on?
After she wakes up and the dad talks to her.
Oh my god. That's where we're gonna stick our toes in the sand, draw the line, and say, this is real.
And it's not like she wakes up in bed either, or even laying down.
No,
she's standing in front of a... Oh my god.
The fucking foyer.
She sleepwalks now. What evidence do you have for that?
Well, how else would she get down there?
Because it's not a dream.
Well, I mean, I suppose it could all be in her imagination, and she could just be like rummaging around in the kitchen during the MC Escher sequence. Sort of like crawling on the table and just like rooting around, like bumping around and shit in the pantry and stuff. Like that could work. Maybe that could be the way it is. Bearing in mind, let's go back to the beginning and understand this is not a theater child. This is a child of a dead mother in high fantasy. This is a LARPing kid. This is all theater of the mind. So I'll give you this. Maybe it's not a dream, but maybe it is one very long imagined retelling of the book that she's fucking obsessed with. It's there's too much nonsense for it to be this alternate reality where you have to figure out the way that magic works. Because that's what pissed you the fuck off about Wonka, was there's no explanation as to the magic or the way things work. And it doesn't equate to the other Willy Wonka movies in the Wonkaverse. It didn't make sense. And you were totally valid. I just gave you a hard time.
He says an episode later.
I just wanted to give you a hard time. I thought it was fun. Now, this movie, though, we have established that she is a very imaginative person and goes around in parks and stuff pretending. It's what you do. So why then could this movie not be her being so mad that she has her pretend freedom stripped away from her to need to babysit, and thusly is forcing her way into another game of pretend where she can pretend that the baby's not there and she has to go on this mighty quest because she's the one who banished the baby to the hands and clutches of the goblin sexual king. And so she's just imagining.
It can be.
I'm saying it is.
I'm saying I've lived that life and it definitely can be.
I don't like that. Argue more.
No, because I've done it. Like, you're valid. You're right. I was a very imaginative child, for a long time, about probably until I was her age, and I've done that.
All right, well, the Goblin King takes the boy, and now let's talk about something far more interesting and questionable. Dwarf piss. Hoggle, we meet for the first time just hanging a piss into some water, which is disrespectful, first of all. But he's just doing it, and she walks up on him, and then he decides he's going to start committing chemical warfare upon fairies, and fairies, dicks. Fairies bite. They're mean. Tinkerbell's a bitch. Anyways,
I'm gonna let all that slide. Carry on.
we read Peter Pan. We know Tinkerbell is not a nice character.
Oh no, Tinkerbell's a solid bitch, but I don't think we can lump all fairies with Tinkerbell.
At least one from this movie gets lumped in. She bit what's her face? Sarah. Name that is irrelevant. How can puppets piss?
The magic of Jim Henson.
Indeed.
Like literally, I would not be surprised if there was a mechanism built into that puppet.
Oh, it's tubing run up through that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Just to make that work, like not even like as like a special effects or anything. Like I fully imagine that there is tubing in that puppet.
Oh yeah.
That would make that puppet piss.
For sure. So Hoggle sort of like gives her vague advice on how to get into the fucking labyrinth, and lo and behold, she looks, there's no door. She turns around, she looks again, there's a door. That's Dream, baby. So into the labyrinth we go, and the walls have eyes, and they're made of the Last of Us fungi. It's gross and I hate it. Now, Sarah does something unintelligent for the entire time she's in the long trench. She doesn't try one time to scale that wall. In lots of places where it's in a bit of decline and you have solid footholds, solid handholds, in other places where there's trees and branches and stuff that you could easily use to aid your way in scaling that wall to see what's going on, she just doesn't do it. And it's fucking embarrassing that she didn't even try. And it takes her all of 3 or 4 minutes before having another over dramatic moment where she just goes bouncing back and forth between the walls. And I get it. It's despair. But like, let's get it together, girly. We've got a mission here.
I think I'm gonna be Sarah's defender again. I think because she expects like the game to work like a game. And she's not really, say it is a dream world. She's not playing into the dream. She's consumed by the dream. So she expects the game to abide by the rules of the game. And she mentions it. I only say this because she continuously mentions it's not fair. It's not fair. You're not fair. So she expects there to be like a set number of rules and to like play by those rules. She was told to make it through the labyrinth. So what she's going to do is make it through the labyrinth, and climbing the walls would be cheating. And Sarah expects the game to be played fairly, so she wants to play fairly, so she wouldn't cheat by climbing over the walls.
What game?
The game of Get the Baby Back from the Goblin King.
It's less of a game and more of a storybook.
It's a quest. Mr.
You're really leaning on the D&D trope here?
It's of the role-playing trope, it's a quest.
I mean, D&D came out in the 80s and everyone called it Satan's fucking masturbation material. So then, you know, she has a conversation with an unhelpful worm, and works her way deeper into the labyrinth. And we have a brief musical interlude with David Bowie when we have you toss the baby, dance, shake my dick at some puppets, and the who do voodoo you do. I don't fucking like that shit. You remind me of the babe. God, fucking. I hope it sold a lot of tickets in the 80s, because gross.
I don't think it did. I think it became more of a cult movie.
Really?
Well, here, you keep talking. I'll do the Googling. You keep going, because we're
figure out how much it made.
We're never going to get through the plot.
They also have a whole line in that brief David Bowie interlude where they talk about slapping a baby, which to me feels like
and make him bleed. The line is like, slap the baby and make him bleed.
That's not what the caption said.
Oh.
But the slap the baby alone is like did they run out of ideas for lyrics and they just didn't consult David Bowie? Or maybe David Bowie slaps babies? I don't know. May he rest in peace. I would never say he does unless I saw him do it.
34 million worldwide.
I wonder what that is referencing to. Is that their opening weekend or
Total. Grossing a total of 34 million worldwide against a budget of 25 million.
Ooh, they cleared? That's nice. Good for them.
It was a box office hit in the UK, but became a box office flop ultimately.
Yeah. Now we run into a bit of character problems with Sarah here, because Sarah, maybe she is in the right to be all like, this isn't fair, this is bullshit, but she is mean outright to every character she meets except Ludo. Just straight up mean. Especially at the beginning of the movie. She sort of tapers off the more friends she accrues in her little posse, but at the beginning of the movie, she's mean to Hoggle. Hoggle's mean back, though, so, you know, eye for an eye. She's mean to the worm. She's mean to the walls when they have jokes. She's just mean. She's a bully to everyone. Oh my god, I skipped so much movie all the way to the green screen nightmare.
Like in your notes?
Yeah, because probably I was just mesmerized by how many drugs I wish I was on.
Well, so after you missed like the part where she falls into
The oubliette.
She does the doors.
Yeah, the doors.
The truth and lie doors, which I've never understood that riddle, and if someone would like to please explain it to me, like I'm 5, that'd be great. Then she does fall into the
oubliette
with the hands of helping. The helping hands.
Oh yeah, the weird grope you hands.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm not going to say I enjoyed the movie, but I took a lot of mental notes on how I'm going to mentally harm my friends when we play D&D in the future. You fall down a hole, and the walls are made of hands that are a bit too large and a bit too friendly. And you can ask them because they make little gang sign faces that talk to you and ask you whether you want to go up or down. Do you want to go up or down?
And then we get to the bottom.
She doesn't want to play the game. All right.
And then we get to the bottom, and
Hoggle's in the fucking hole.
Hoggle's there, and she makes a deal with Hoggle.
For no fucking reason, he's in the hole.
Well, he's there planted by Jareth to take her to the beginning of the labyrinth.
Wonder how he got there.
He knows the ways of the labyrinth? Jareth teleported him there?
Who controls Jareth?
Jareth is the Goblin King.
Right, but who controls Jareth?
No one controls Jareth. Jareth controls the world.
No, no, no. Sarah controls Jareth.
Anyway, she makes a deal with Hoggle.
Who she just now learned how to call by name. Hogwart. Stupid.
And he tries to lead her out, and then Jareth finds them and is like, where are y'all going? And he's like,
Back to the beginning, sir.
And then he throws the little crystal, makes the cleaning machine come.
The little Nick at Night ball.
And then they climb out of the they climb out of the oubliette?
Oubliette.
Oubliette.
Look, I'm the Goblin King.
Are you so proud of yourself right now?
No, this is stupid.
For the first
This is a stupid fucking bit.
For the first time in a long time, you didn't pull up the plot summary with our
Oh fuck no, I forgot about it.
We'll pull it up for the second half because we're coming about to the end of this episode anyways.
Yeah, thereabouts.
But yeah, so then we
and fucking Jareth keeps threatening Hoggle with the stinky stank bog.
The bog of eternal stench.
The bog of bad smells.
The bog of eternal stench.
The bog of fuck you, I'm making jokes.
And after we climb out, Hoggle abandons her, and that's when she meets Ludo.
Oh, poor Ludo. Diet Toph Beifong. But hairy and weird. What a fucking monstrosity Ludo is.
I love him. He's cute.
Cute in the way that like a really ugly baby is cute.
No, he's cute.
I mean, you know, sometimes babies get like squished on the way out and their features are like old man like.
His personality reminds me of someone.
His personality reminds me of like a really nice golden retriever who's got an actual bite to go along with their bark. And the bite is made of rocks. Ludo's great.
Anyways, we'll wrap up this episode here so that James can find the plot.
I really got lost in the plot, man.
Maybe if you were more awake for most of this movie.
This movie tried so damn hard to put me to sleep. Here's the thing, okay? From the jump, the movie told me it was a dream. And now look, it's art, it's subjective, you can believe it or not. My take on it from the start was, oh, this is a dream of sorts. It's whatever it is, it's of the mind. We're in Sarah's mind. That's what's going on. So that's my read on the whole situation. So for the whole movie, there are no stakes instantly to me, which is really quite sad because I want to enjoy movies, but the more I've had to break them down, not because of this show, but the more I've had to break them down through study on learning how to make films and stuff like that, the harder it is for me to suspend disbelief. And when I get put in a position of, oh, this is a dream, outside of Inception, where there's noted consequences in the real world from the dreams, to me, this movie has no consequences and has no stakes in the plot. So there's nothing hooking me to it outside of pure entertainment value of the puppetry and the script. Well, the script's kind of uninteresting, to be clear. It was like written when people were on drugs. The puppetry, while masterful, is a really big range of the same color palette, and that color palette is mud. It is a atrocious amount of neutral tones. There's nothing interesting to look at until the fucking green screen sequence that we're about to have, because that shit was crazy. But for the whole of the movie, we're dealing in this visually intricate but unappealing aesthetic. And if there's no consequences to the story, for me personally, it's really hard to stay engaged in it. I don't empathize with a character. I'm not hooked by a character's problems. I'm uninterested in the villain. And it's not to say it's like a bad movie, because there's people who love this movie. So it can't possibly be like a bad movie. It's not poorly assembled. It's a good movie. Professionals worked on it. But I'm not the audience. My demographic of person is not the core audience for this movie. And I bet you if I watched it as a slightly older child who would not be traumatized by the horrors within, I'd probably be really into it. But since my first viewing is at 28 years old with a deep sense of cynicism, I found it very unengaging, which is a shame.
So, to wrap this episode up, and the only comparative thing timeline and story-wise and creation-wise, Neverending Story or Labyrinth.
Neverending Story is worse.
Ooh.
The Neverending Story
I was genuinely
is
not expecting
worse. And there's a couple of reasons. One of the most important, I'll talk about the second in the second half because there's a huge upside to this movie that I will talk about in the next episode. That makes me really like the movie in a lot of ways. But Neverending Story is worse than this movie because there's no fucking impetus for anything that happens in that movie at all. It's a movie where shit just happens. And there's no explanation, nothing will be explained to you the whole time. It's very rushed, and there's no details about anything in that movie. In this movie, some things are explained, some things have reason, and you can explain the rest of it away by being like, she's in her weird mind palace, I guess. So, Neverending Story is worse, but visually, they are largely the same.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, we will wrap this episode here. We will pull up the plot so James can refresh his brain.
Yes, please.
And we will be right back.
I really can't wait to monologue in the next episode about the thing that I really like about the movie.
Alrighty. Yeah, I was like...
Remember that time in the middle of this recording where I had a cocaine binge? That was fucking crazy. I shook my face around like a dog.
Well, even if you've never seen it, you can listen to our episode of Neverending Story, which is on our list of episodes for the podcast.
I think I had a horrible rant in that one, too.
James really doesn't like, Jim Henson. I don't know what you want me to hit.
Okay, it's working. What's this movie called?
The Labyrinth, James.
No, it's not called D. It's just called Labyrinth.
Is it really?
Yes. Also, who the fuck decided we were going to spell labyrinth like this? The Greeks? Was it the Greeks?
Mm-hmm.
Go fuck them.
Hogglefly. We didn't even get to the... Cher ends up in the...
Juliet, she escapes.
Okay.
We're at freeing Ludo, and then he gets the peach, and from there we have like...
That's the fire gang. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so we're right here.
We're right
there.
there.
Highlighted.
We just have to go into detail about Ludo, and then yeah.
Right. Can you type that out? So you guys don't get to vote because you tied last time. So we're doing we did flip a coin genuinely for what movie came first. So we're doing Willy's Wonderland next time. We'll do Willy's Wonderland next time, which will be 2 weeks from now, assuming we're not in the hospital.
We're getting real tight on birth deadlines here.
Yeah, episodes will be weird at some point because we just will be in the hospital.
After that, we're still gonna do our best to fucking make the show.
Yeah, we have a plan.
Oh,
so
I hurt my foot sitting that way. Oh no. Oh goddamn. Oh shit.
We are still gonna take our break and encourage you guys to do so as well. I'm gonna go get a sparkling water, and then we'll be back in like 5 minutes. We'll be back as soon as James stops being old.
Oh.
What a sound to come in on. That was way less than 5 minutes, you guys. Sorry. No, it's like a minute short. I mean, James is gonna eat, so we can still be on break. But okay. Yeah.
These are really good.
Can I try a bite?
Yeah.
Mmm.
The pastry's not too sweet.
Solid choice.
Could have bought them last time, but we didn't.
I don't think they were there last time. I didn't see them.
I don't know.
I didn't see them. We went pregnancy snack shopping today. James is sampling.
I have to sample because if she doesn't like them, then no one's going to eat them.
More important,
I gotta eat them.
More importantly, if Bean doesn't like them.
True.
Which has happened. You've had to finish a couple of the snacks recently because it just
the
got...
child becomes irritated.
And some of them have been giving me bad reactions recently. Like the naked juices. Lovely.
You love me, don't pretend.
Alrighty, you ready?
Well, I got food in my mouth.
Well, I mean,
It would
like...
be a terrible podcast if we started recording while I have food in my mouth.
I mean, after you finish that bite.
Oh, well, all right. We'll talk about how I freed Ludo from the trap.
What's for dinner?
Costco pizza.
We had Costco pizza. It was a... Oh, that snack?
It's Costco crepe.
It's crepes with chocolate in them from Costco. Not sponsored, but we'll take sponsorship if offered.
My God. I'd buy a second microphone if Costco sponsored. We've made over 100 episodes.
132. I counted.
One microphone and no sound treatment. Oh.
What's worse is we've been professional, quote unquote, professional. Technically, we've been paid, so professional streamers for 8 years. 8 years. This channel has been in existence.
We started when I didn't have hair.
No, we did. We started when you
like this.
We started when you had short hair and I was blonde.
No, it's much nicer.
You ready now? Did you swallow your crepe?
You know me, I always swallow.
Alrighty then.
That's live on the internet.
I need to clip that and send that to some people.
Fuck off.
Who
no
have some long-standing theories about you.
Oh my God, if they saw me hang out with Kyle, it would be all over. Or with Austin. Or with my fucking band. Jesus.
I need to I'll clip that and send that to them. Alrighty.
Oh, fuck's sakes.
You ready, my guy? Where's your notes?
Okay.
Where's your notes? You got your plot. You're here.
Hold on, I'm looking at a baby leg. Alright. The Goblin King gonna get him.
Goblin King's gonna come for your baby.
Alright. Let's rescue Ludo.
Aries, are you okay? Okay.
Let me check on him.
Yeah, please. He made weird noises. Oh, he's right there.
Jesus Christ.
I called. He came. He's a good boy.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I hurt my chest.
This is one of the most chaotic recordings we've done in a minute. Go under. Come this way. Or don't.
You ever get jump scared by your own animal? Oh, God.
He's doing much better. He has not been ill from his walk, so I think that he's recovered. We're still going to take things really easy per instruction, but... In 3, 2, 1.
Have you ever wondered what the abominable snowman would look like if he was made of rust?
I didn't have a thought to follow that. I'm sorry. I couldn't yes and you.
Boo! Boo! Bad improv, boo!
My brain fully just went buffer circle. Like, it didn't have, there was not a fucking thought that went through. I so often don't know how we're going to start or who's going to start these podcast episodes that every once in a while my brain just goes, America.exe has failed. Like, I'm America, that's James. This is CityWavesCinema. We're still talking about the Labyrinth, kind of.
No, this is relevant, I promise. You know the character, the puppet, Ludo?
Yes, the cute one.
Yeah, that looks like an abominable snowman made of rust.
Okay.
Oh, no, because see, now you thought about it and you were like, oh, son of a bitch, he was right.
I mean, no, you're not wrong, but my brain still doesn't have a way to follow that thought.
All right, well then, I'll just keep going. Now, we come across Sarah finding Ludo being tormented by some goblins. I believe they're goblins, not gremlins, but they're fucking the same thing. And she feels sorry for this poor beast who is being harassed by goblins wielding sticks that have alive chomping fish tied to the ends of them, and they're just lightly tapping him with the stick and letting the fish sort of nibble at him, and he's dangling by one leg just going "Argh." So Sarah goes, well, gosh, I wish I had something to throw. And as if by magic,
No, it's the rocks.
yes,
The rocks are Ludo's friends.
yes,
I just figured yep.
Ludo gives her rocks to throw.
Yeah, that makes sense now.
And she has better aim than the goddamn stormtroopers.
She's better aim than anyone. She does not miss.
Throws 2 rocks, hits 2 goblins in the head, which spins their helmets around so they can't see. And like proper good goblins, they take their chomping fish sticks. And as soon as they go blind, they just start fucking swinging them around with reckless abandon, attacking their comrades with their chomping fish sticks.
See, now you are falling into the role-playing category of Sarah, where it feels like you're being a little bit dramatic.
And that's what the goblins did. I'm just repeating what I saw. Wait until we get to the next part.
Okay, so we rescue Ludo.
We rescue Ludo. We become friends with Ludo, who is just this strange beast who can move rocks with his voice. Or maybe his mind. I don't know. It's unclear. Now, Hoggle has fucked off to somewhere else because he's a big bitch.
Who can't decide what side of the fucking fence he stands on.
He is the Benedict Arnold for every side there is.
Yes.
He is the traitor for both legions. And he comes across Jareth, who, now, I'll be honest, if I happened upon a man who looked an awful lot like David Bowie in a little bit of drag in the woods, and he said to me, now you wouldn't be trying to help my enemies, would you? I don't know if I would look at that person and go, yes, of course, moron. I don't think I personally would have the stones to simply tell him that I was, in fact, helping his enemies. Hoggle, also a coward, does not have the stones to be like, yes, I was helping them. Instead, he continues to lie poorly to Jareth, who then takes one of his little Nick-at-Night massage swirly balls and gives it to Hoggle, and it turns into a peach. for reasons. And it says, you give that to Sarah, and questions his loyalty and all this shit. So then Hoggle has to struggle to catch up. And Sarah sort of loses Ludo in the woods, as it were. And Sarah comes across. I struggled to find the words really to describe exactly what it is that she comes across. It's a selection of puppets that resemble the Muppet animal, but with less friendly vibes and more like handsy stoner vibes. And the whole sequence is another odd song. It's not a musical, right? But there's musical numbers, and this is one of those musical numbers. And it's not a David Bowie musical number, which makes it even more out of place and uncomfortable. But we have a sequence in which these weird little red furry guys take all of the time in the world to like peer pressure Sarah into playing a game where you detach your limbs and throw them around. And they do all of this on a top 3 worst green screens I've ever seen. I mean, ooh, it is unpleasant to look at. Now, America had to step away to take care of the dog, who's a whiny baby. But I would like to get her thoughts on the sequence. You missed all of the fun. So now, what did you think about the fire gang sequence?
It's confusing. It doesn't make sense. It's very like Bob Marley meets Jeffrey Dahmer. Because it gives it. I'm gonna get there. Give me a second. It gives vibes of like reggae a little bit and like stonerism, but also we're talking about like ripping off limbs and
just throwing them around
and lobbing off heads, and they want to take off her head and,
or even her ears,
and with a saw. And I also really it's a hard sequence to watch because it's the only sequence in the entire movie, and I don't know why, where they made it green screen. And it's so poorly done that like her hair, it's like a Zoom call. Like when you put the green screen background on the Zoom call and like parts of you just glitch out every once in a while, like because it only has the like recognition of like. So
green screen technology has come a long way since then. The keying is, well, it's done like it was 1985.
I feel like I saw a movie because I've seen green screen movies from 1985, and I still don't feel like they were bad. I feel like they spent so much money in other places that when it came time to do the green screen portion, which again they chose to do only in this portion for some reason, it felt weird.
I'm wondering if they needed extra runtime, and so they shot after the fact. They shot a sequence after the fact on green screen because they didn't have the sets anymore. And they had all these weird red puppets, and they were like, let's do that sequence that we thought about adding, but let's actually do it now. And they put it to film, and I think maybe we just shouldn't have.
Maybe it might have been a reshoot too because it fits in the story because there's a whole scene where they're like throwing their heads up and Hoggle pulls her out, and there are portions of the sequence that are not on green screen. So maybe maybe you're partially right, and maybe it was like some reshoots that they had to do, but it was so far.
I think they didn't have the set anymore.
Yeah, it was so far past filming that they didn't have the set, and so they were like, well, because it jumps.
We can digitally recreate it.
It jumps between the two very jarringly. But yeah, no, those are my thoughts. It's a weird time. It's a weird moment. But Hoggle does save her from the fire gang. And
yeah.
then she kisses him.
Which she is not supposed to do, but she doesn't know that, because the script said so.
I will say this, though. She doesn't have consent. He tells her no, and she does not stop.
It's the 80s. Consent was a myth. Consent was not a myth. We just pretend like it is.
But yeah, he says no twice, and she continues to accost him with her mouth. Which leads to them falling into the bog of eternal stench.
No. They fall into the DreamWorks script swamp. Because all that bitch does is fart.
The bog of eternal stench. What did you
All
think?
it does is fart.
What did you think it was going to be?
You know, I didn't think in this movie I was going to get a bog that farts. It just farts, and it farts the whole time we're there. And we're there for so goddamn long. Because after we shimmy along the wall for a little ways, we get down to a path, we reunite with Ludo, and we carry on along until we get to a bridge, which is being guarded by a anthropomorphic fox dog thing with man teeth, like Ugly Sonic, whose name is Sir Didymus, and who has the sheepdog from the beginning of the movie as his cowardly horse called Ambrosius.
Why does one dog get to be sentient and the other dog not?
Because they thought about Disney and they said, well, they do it and it's fine. The mouse has a dog that is not bigger than him as a pet. It's fine.
And
it's a cartoon.
He also has
but guess what? This movie is not a cartoon.
He also has a friend that is a dog.
Yes, who has a son who is a dog.
But in this movie, the dog rides the dog.
And they get bullied by a cat who may be a rat. It's unclear. Pete the giant fuck. Anyways, that's enough about Disney. Sir Didymus is guarding the bridge, and he says from the very beginning the answer to the riddle. Because every bridge that's guarded needs a riddle to be solved. Because that is the way of high fantasy. And that's how it is in all the books. And let's not forget that this movie is just Sarah reading the Labyrinth again and again and again and again because she's obsessed because her mom's dead. Now, the riddle, I can't blame her. I would throw myself into something too if my mom was dead and my dad was dating a tramp. That was a bit harsh. The stepmom's just mean.
Are we talking about the Labyrinth or my life?
Woof! Now.
Not even kind of joking.
You're Sarah, just you're into theater and not LARPing. God damn it, where was I? Ah, yes, the riddle. Sir Didymus says, none may pass on this bridge without my express permission. And then he assaults Ludo. Like, for no reason.
And for all of the sometime.
And we have a puppet fight, which is uninteresting. It's supposed to be funny, and I get it. It's supposed to be funny. The little strange fox dog thing with a stick is attacking the rusty, abominable snowman, and they're both just sort of like, and that's the whole sequence. And it lasts maybe like a minute and a half, could be 2 minutes, and that is a minute and 25 seconds too long.
Yeah.
It's so long, and there's no purpose. There's no reason for it to be so long. It's just so long, and it just keeps going. And then you think it's going to stop, and it doesn't stop, and it keeps going. And then Sir Didymus gets up in a tree and says, what if it's a draw?
I respect you because no one's bested me in a duel, so...
So he calls it a draw, and Ludo's like, okay, and helps him down, and then Didymus says that they are brothers. And so Ludo goes, brother. And Hoggle has fucked off like an asshole across the bridge during the fight.
Again.
Because Hoggle's one character trait is, when the opportunity presents itself to run, that bitch runs. Now, Sir Didymus resumes his post and stops them from crossing the bridge and goes, well, you have to have my express permission. And Sarah, who's just sort of been standing around the whole time, takes 4 seconds to figure out the answer to the riddle. And she goes, oh, may we have your permission to cross? And he goes, sure. And so Sarah tries to cross, and the bridge, which is a plank of wood held up by rickety trees, collapses immediately. And she becomes in danger of becoming, drumroll please, the danger is she could be stinky. Because what happens, America, if you get even a little bit of a foot inside of the bog of eternal stench?
You become stinky forever.
You become stinky forever. And so what does she do? Nothing. Ludo saves her ass again and summons rocks by shouting into the void. And a bunch of rocks roll in and form a small bridge of rocks. And they splash about in the bog, and then she touches down on the wet rocks, and I don't understand how she's not stinky forever.
I don't either, and it's
she gets wet from the bog.
It's my one, like, plot hole complaint from this movie is like, okay, but if the rocks touch the water, and then you touch the wet rocks, through transient property, you would be touching the bog of eternal stench, so you would be stinky. I mean, it's kind of like the stinky cheese in Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
If you touch the cheese, you're stinky. Well, the stinky cheese in Diary of a Wimpy Kid is Schrodinger's cheese.
But if you touch the kid who touches the stinky cheese, you are also stinky. So how come when we touch the stinky rocks, we're not stinky?
Because they're not in the same universe, and it's all an illusion. It's in her mind. Now, her little conglomerate escapes across the rocks, and Hoggle, everyone gets a little hungry, and Hoggle's like
magically appears again.
Yeah, he's wishy-washy about whether or not he has to obey Jareth, and then he goes, fine, and he gives Sarah the peach. And now Sarah has trusted Hoggle at every point in time in this movie for no reason.
He's constantly proving himself to be untrustworthy.
He is the bad guy.
Like, I don't think Jareth's the bad guy. At least Jareth tells you what the fuck is up. Like, Hoggle literally just continuously...
Betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. The dwarf is bad. We should not be hanging out with the dwarf. And she continuously takes pity on him after getting burned too many times. Listen, there's turn the other cheek, and then you run out of cheeks with Hoggle, all right? He's just bad. And he gives her the mind wash peach. And now we have what is maybe the most questionable sequence in the movie, in which Sarah takes a bite from the peach, goes, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark. And the bubbles that Jareth blows from his mirror Benoit balls, woof, they just woof, right? The bubbles, they woof, and they float out, and one rolls up to Sarah, and we, the audience, go into the bubble, in which Sarah is done up real big beauty queen style.
I love the way she looks.
It's a look with L-E-W-K look.
It's so pretty.
It is maybe the best job the costuming department did the whole time. And she is wandering maskless through a masquerade ball full of really horrifying masks. I mean, they are upsetting looking masks. And at the back, hiding behind a black devil mask, is Jareth the Goblin King.
Or more like a projection of him, because he's not actually there.
I don't know.
He's hanging out with the baby, because like later on, he's surprised when he finds out that she escaped the bubble, so he can't be there. It's more like an illusion of him.
Sure. He's made of dream magic. He can do whatever. So she's in there, and we are treated, rather unfortunately, to a love ballad from David Bowie. Now, there ain't a damn thing wrong with this song. It's fine. It's a David Bowie song. It's whatever. However, when you take that song and you staple it to this sequence and you experience them both at the same time, you get some really weird sexual tension that we didn't ask for or need for the movie. For context, David Bowie at time of filming was around 39 years old, and Jennifer Connelly, much like Sarah, was 16. And they do a brief slow dance. I mean, most of the sequence is just sort of like looking around, to be honest. But the way it's shot, the intention, the song, it all very much feels
the
like...
way he looks at her.
Yeah, the way he sort of leers. But I mean, that's just the way David Bowie looks. So, like, that's not really fair. You can't just knock the guy because of the way his face is, especially when he's done up halfway in drag. So it's the whole sequence is like, is this some weird sexual music video that I didn't ask to be a part of? What part of the internet did I stumble into? And just like that, boom, it's over. And Sarah is deposited in the junkyard.
Well, she breaks the thing. She breaks the curse. She breaks out of the bubble.
Yeah. Now,
she still can't remember anything.
I need to point this out because this is different on our plot guide from the internet than what I saw in real life in the movie. It says on here, she dreams that Jareth comes to her at a masquerade ball proclaiming his love for her, but she rebuffs him and escapes. They don't speak during this sequence, so I don't know what all that's about, but definitively it feels weird, but I don't know that all that goes on.
I mean,
if you know what I'm saying.
I think you can make the case.
Oh, you get a good lawyer, they could argue that 10 ways to Sunday.
But it feels more just like he's like hypnotizing her.
Yeah, you know how in the Jungle Book the snake does the eyes thing, and then Mowgli's like, and that's just sort of like how the thing goes on.
Your impressions tonight.
I've been on one, and the one I'm on is a Costco trip on Sunday. So it sort of, it feels very much like that, and then she escapes her little dream bubble and is just sort of like flopped about in a junkyard. And I also like this description from the plot guide. It says an old junk lady, which is kind of true. She's in a junkyard and she like stumbles off a little bit, throws the peach away when she sees a worm in it. She almost goes to take another bite, which is hilarious. But she throws the peach away, and then this voice goes, "Ah, watch where you're going." And there's this tiny, shriveled fucking junk gnome.
Yeah.
You know what she reminded me of? This is gonna upset you. She reminded me of the maggot farmer from Furiosa, from the hole under the Citadel, where the lady's like, "You'll find peace here."
I mean, it's very much kind of the same thing.
It's so the same thing. And it, like, she's just like, "Come along, dearie, come along, look at this, look, go in here.
Look at all your stuff, all your favorite things."
Takes her to a mock-up of her room and just starts, like, putting her own stuff on and around her in her hands, making this junk heap upon her. And it takes until Sarah finds the copy of the Labyrinth in her room and opens it and reads her lines before she goes, oh, fuck, that's what I was doing. And then she goes, fuck all this shit, it's all junk. And then the room starts coming apart and Ludo's there and he's going like, Sarah! And then she gets out crawling through the fucking drywall and she gets out of there and they fucking get to the city gates. The Goblin City Gates.
What is the part you enjoy about this second half of the movie? Have we gotten there yet?
The part I enjoy about the second half of the movie is not about the second half of the movie. It's a theme in the movie overall.
Okay, so we're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet. It's going to be at the very end.
Cool, carry on.
So they get to the city gates of the Goblin City, and they get through after Sir Didymus does his goddamn best to make a loud entrance. And they are stopped by a robot
a mech
guard. It's a mech suit, piloted by a tiny goblin, who doesn't successfully do anything. And there's fake tension, and then the head comes off through some sort of means.
Can I talk about
Hoggle jumps down and rips that motherfucker out of there.
Can I talk about something I love during this scene?
Sure, please.
The live action, not the puppet dog, because there are two.
Oh my god, there's two dogs.
There are two dogs.
One's a puppet, one's a dog.
And they interchange at random, depending on what they need from the dog in that scene. They need, like, emotive acting from the dog. They use the puppet. They need just, like, movement from the dog. They use the dog. But at one point, the live action, the real dog, they have him scurry off because he gets scared.
Mm-hmm.
And he bumps the spikes in the background.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they go, and I'm just like, ooh, did we not have any good takes, any other takes of that dog running?
Listen, it's a lot easier in the digital age to be like, oh, let's get another take. When you're shooting on film, you have limited time. And if you don't see it, or you think to yourself, I don't give a shit, I'm running out of tape, or I'm running out of film, you go, oh well.
I had a feeling it was something like that, but every time I watch it, I just watch the little spike go in the background as the dog just runs against it.
So Hoggle defeats the thing after popping up again. Deus Ex Hoggle.
He really only shows up when they don't have a plot way to get Sarah out of a jam.
Yeah. Defeats the mech. They bust their way through the gates into the Goblin City.
Start roaming around. And then we cut to the Goblin King's lair, where his cronies roll up and go, Sir, the girl! And he goes, what of it? Like, he could not be less interested at all. He's like, they're like, the one that you, like, made forget everything.
And he goes, what? And they go, she's here and she's got all her friends. And he goes, what the fuck? And is like, send everybody, Jesus Christ.
That's how you know that he was not in the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, he was not ready for that shit. So they'd send out the whole brigade and they sort of chase them through the city streets. Ludo rips a house in half. And then Ludo gets on top of a house that he previously ripped in half and does Ludo brain powers, and summons all of the rocks to defeat the Goblin army. And so he does. And I mean, that's how it is. That's how it goes.
In a slow battle that rivals the Last Airbender fighting speed.
Oh my god.
But
from the bad M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah.
So
it's so slow.
It's slow. So they go into the castle, and Sarah insists that she has to go do this alone and promises to call the others if she needs them. And they go, weird, but all right, do you?
Literally, they're like, why would you not take?
They were literally like, we're like your whole squad. What?
And she's like, it's just the way it has to be done. And they're like,
okay. I really like that, because every time someone's like, I have to do this by myself, it's like, bitch, no.
I just really,
under no circumstances do you have to.
I just really love how they're like it's one of the few times where I've seen someone like genuinely like question it though, like, but in like that almost meta way where they're like, but you you don't need to.
Like not understanding that they're the main character.
Yeah, they're like,
I'm the main character of my life, and it feels like you don't need to do this.
like it's just like they're very much like, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
if that's what the script says, I don't know.
So now we enter the final standoff with the Goblin King, and it happens in an MC Escher painting.
It's my favorite sequence in the entire
in which
movie.
Sarah gets sort of like toyed with by the Goblin King, and then Sarah sees Toby and just spends a lot of time running around trying to get to Toby.
But she can't.
But she can't because it's MC Escher and the stairs don't go to where the stairs go. It's like Hogwarts, but worse, and that's saying something. Now, she does finally confront the Goblin King, and all she does...
The way to defeat... This is my least favorite part of the whole movie, because the way to defeat the Goblin King is just for her to remember her lines.
Yeah, that's how you know it's a fucking dream. She's stuck on a wall in her monologue and has a nightmare about it. Maybe she is an actor.
Maybe, yeah, this whole thing's like a stress stream about a production.
She's a former LARPer turned theater kid, and she's trying real hard to memorize a monologue for an audition, and she just can't do it. She just can't get it, and has a stress dream about it, and breaks through at the hands of David Bowie and his massive hog.
It's that monologue from Arjen that I didn't get right.
Not one time in the lead up to the show, not one time during the performance of the show, not during the one I attended or any other one did you get that monologue correct.
Nope. I fumbled my way through that one.
Listen, in Argent, all you had to do was say fuck correctly, and you are good at that.
It was really funny when every time I would check in with the director, like at the end and be like, that was no.
Is that it? No? Okay.
I mean, I get the gist of it across, but every time was fucking different, and none of it was right.
Hilarious. So Jareth offers her dreams again, and one of the strange mirror Nick at Night balls. And she remembers the final line. Yes?
Why do you keep calling it Nick at Night balls?
Because on Nick at Night, they would advertise them in commercials as these cool balls that you could spin around on your hands and do the little whoop-de-shoo tricks with.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, fucking you finally got there? Holy shit!
You just kept calling them Nick at Night balls, and they have a name.
That doesn't matter, that's where I saw them!
It just didn't make sense.
Jesus, I've been saying it the whole time, thinking you remembered the fucking commercials.
I know.
They were like the kids in the park, and the camera's going woo, 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 in and out, and they're just going woo.
I know.
That's fucking terrible for the audio listeners, but that was really fucking funny in real life.
I know the commercial you're talking about, but
yes.
You just kept saying Nick at Night balls, and I kept going, is there a show I don't know about? Like, hang on, I've got to figure out what these balls are.
All right, you do that while I fucking talk about the stupid final showdown. She recalls her final line in the monologue she's been trying to master the whole time, which is, you have no power over me. And
Fushigi balls!
Yeah, the Fushigi balls. That's all they are. Anyways. Shout out to Fushigi. In the end, Jareth turns back into a barn owl, and everyone goes home. And he just sort of fucks off. And then Sarah is downstairs in the foyer and goes, Toby, and runs up the stairs, sees that young boy is asleep in his crib, right where he was supposed to be, and goes, all right, and then takes Lancelot, the stuffed teddy bear, from the bed, where it was, by the way, during the last time she was awake, and puts it in the crib with him, and goes, you should have this now. And then she goes back to her room, and is looking in the mirror, and saying goodbye to her friends one at a time.
She also starts putting away all her childish things.
Yeah, which is really just weird.
Yeah, it was, I never got that part of the movie.
And it's not even like childish stuff. She like puts the book in a drawer, puts a picture of her and her mom in a drawer.
Maybe it's her finally coming to terms with her mom's passing.
Look, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this movie that would be better served if they took another 10, 15 minutes and explained any of it. You could have had a fucking plot bot that showed up in the middle during like a video game cutscene. It was just like, just so you know, her mom's dead and she loved this book. So that's why she's all into it. Now, she's doing all this, saying goodbye to her friends in the mirror, and then they go, "You'll call if you need us?" And she goes, "Of course I'll call if I need you." And they go, "Hooray!" And then we have a imaginary party in the bedroom, in which she tackles and touches a lot of puppets. And that's the end of the movie.
The puppets are just her stuffed animals.
She has goblin stuffed animals?
If you look up at the wall, you'll see like a Ludo stuffed animal and stuff on her wall.
She left Freddy Fazbear in the fucking crib with their boy. No! The bite of 87!
It's Golden Freddy too, because it's a gold bear.
See, no.
Oh my god.
So, now, okay. Okay. This movie is mid. It's got a cult following. It didn't make a ton of money, but it made money. There's parts of it that are really uncomfy. There's parts of it that are just pure cocaine-fueled script. And Jim Henson wrote it and was a director on it. It's very strange. It's just very strange. I'm not the core audience, and I don't really resonate with the film, but here's the thing that I really fucking like. Okay? In a world that has been so heavily dominated by high fantasy young white male protagonists, we get a high fantasy protagonist female who is almost never damsel in distress. And it's a stereotype killer. She gets to be the hero of the story. She is the main character. She defeats the Goblin King. And yeah, none of it's through like violence or anything, but none of the movie really has violence in it. Ludo's the tool for that. So in a world where you have your Luke Skywalker, to bring like a similar time frame character into it,
or even in Neverending Story, you have
a young lad.
What's his bucket? Whose name just flew out of my head.
Doesn't matter. You've got the same type of hero, and we've had the same type of hero through comic books and all sorts of shit, and The Knight's Tale, and any high fantasy thing you can think of. How many women are in Lord of the Rings? 3. And they don't talk to each other at all. Well, I think 2 of them talk to each other, but it's like 3/4 of the way through the first movie. Anyways, it's such a male-dominated genre that it's really cool to see a girl who is a nerd, isn't ashamed of being a nerd, really leans into the high fantasy, and is accepted, albeit by her imagination, as totally normal when any other piece of media would have demonized that sort of thing. D&D was a game for the boys. What's in Stranger Things? The boys play D&D.
And the girls think it's dumb.
And the girls think it's dumb. Sarah is an exception to the rule of who can do what. And to do that in the 80s, in the Reagan era, in the way the world was then, is so cool and so progressive in ways that it makes the movie better for it. And I think that's really great, because it does come out around the same time as Neverending Story, which is almost the same movie, just different, and with a boy. So it's really cool to have that parallel too of children. It's like the young adult fantasy of the day. It's your Hunger Games, but then it's cool to see your female protagonist. She's like Katniss, but then, and way less murdery. That's probably my favorite part of it, is like, not what she does some dumb stuff through the movie, like overly trusting people and being a bit overdramatic, but what protagonist is perfect? None of them. Not a good one anyway. And so to see it just be a female and not be put off by that too, I think is really great.
No, I think it's not something I thought about really, but that's a really good point. I also think about too like Chronicles of Narnia, which does have balanced male and female protagonists, but even then
The boys do the fighting and the queens do what?
helping.
Yeah, they're the helpers.
They get helping items. They're like the healers and shit. They're like
Santa gave Lucy a healing potion and a tiny knife.
And she gave Susan the horn that summons help from like everywhere.
Here, bitch, you're on the radio.
And a bow. But like it's definitely
It breaks the trope of girls can't do X by letting her do X. It would have been even more progressive if they were like, here's a weapon, kill a bitch. But it's a kid's movie. You can't do that. So, you know, within the limitations of it being a kid's movie, I think they did a really outstanding job catering to an audience that probably wouldn't normally have been into it. And you know what you don't do? This is something that people don't understand, especially people who made movies back then. When you make a movie with a young boy as the protagonist for your kids' movie, young boys everywhere will probably go, ooh, like me. When you make a movie with a young girl as the protagonist, you know what the young boys aren't going to do? Give a shit. Either way, it's still movie. It's still interesting. They can still put themselves in that place. But girls never get the representation. So to have that is crazy impressive, crazy progressive, crazy cool in all the ways. It's just different. It's better. It's better than other movies of the kind. It's why it's better than Neverending Story. They're both disjointed movies where nothing happens that makes any sense. But at least in this movie, they explain a few things, and it's progressive about who is the hero. In Neverending Story, no one's the fucking hero, by the way. And the boy just sort of stumbles his way through the plot. And a horse dies, and it's very traumatic. I like if I'm rating this movie, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.
That's higher than I thought you'd give it, honestly.
Well, you know, it gave me enough drugs to drag it all the way to a 2, and then I was like, you know, it's for the time it was made, it's wildly progressive. If you made the movie exactly the same way now, I'd be like, it's whatever. We do that shit now. But not in the 80s.
And too, like I said in the last episode, the artistic skill that went into this movie,
even though everything is in a neutral, ugly fuck off tone,
it's not the prettiest of the Muppets, but it's still just a masterclass from Jim Henson.
True.
And it's anytime I see like the behind the scenes documentaries of how much work goes into those puppets and performing with those puppets, especially when there's huge scenes and like swaths of them.
Tons of them. The operators, the everything.
It's
the coordination. It's incredible.
It's just huge. And it still hurts my brain to this day of watching like the puppets interact with people on the same set. Like I understand how it is and like generally they're underneath and like all this stuff, but it still hurts my brain. Because it just seems so, even to like this adult person and as a kid growing up, like it just seems so real. Like you really feel like the puppets are real people and they interact with the environment in a real way, which I think is something that you lose a little bit with CGI. They do a really good job animating and it's not anything bad, but like the realism of like the actor being able to like touch and interact with the creature is lost in some of the CGI versus when Jim Henson did it, we get the same fantasy feeling, but there's a real touchable being right fucking there. And that's still just blows my mind because it doesn't feel puppety, I guess. It's not what I think of when I think of puppets.
Yeah.
When I think of puppets, I think of Avenue Q. And that's what I picture versus just being in a world where these creatures are actually moving around you. But yeah, that's Labyrinth. And next will be Willy's Wonderland.
Yep.
With Nick Cage not saying a single word the entire time.
Can't wait. Going to be incredible. I have no idea how we're going to get 2 episodes of content out of it, though. Holy shit.
Don't worry, I'm sure I'll have loads to say because I have the comparison to compare it to. Way too much knowledge about what spawned this movie into existence. So, that is a story for next time, though. Until then, listen to Neverending Story. Listen to other episodes. Bye.
Bye.
And if you're here live, like, subscribe, YouTube things, ring that bell. I don't know. Things that I hear other YouTubers say that apparently help. So, if you haven't subscribed or liked this video, do that. Ring that bell. I don't know. James read your puns. It's just hard when we're, it's hard when we're recording to react.
I read your puns, but I try not to react to them while I'm recording because I will lose my train of thought so easily.
His ADHD will just go.
The puns were top notch, very funny, very funny.
No, you were on it. You also missed my beginning joke about David Bowie giving off Big Dick Ezio vibes, which I was really excited about because I don't get to reference Big Dick Ezio anymore, and that's sad. I was telling James today, I was like, all my emotes I had made, we didn't even get to really use them ever. Because we switched from, Twitch right after I got them done. It's fine. Can you type, babe? Play Assassin's Creed again. We were in the middle of a campaign, weren't we? I didn't like that one as much.
Which is a shame because it's one of the better ones.
But yeah. It'll be interesting when the baby gets here, but we think we have a plan, and it is just like our plan with the dog, but more so. So we'll see. We also have a lot of really cool long-standing series games coming up for the channel, like Kindergarten 3. 50 bendies are coming out.
50?
There's 3 bendy games coming out.
Jesus.
For James to play and enjoy.
No.
Oh. Eventually there'll be another Poppy chapter.
It's a miracle I don't stream Elden Ring.
I mean, you could.
Now that would be funny.
But yeah, until then, till 2 weeks from now, probably.
Yep.
Or if we really wanted to, we could. Well, no, not this week. It will be 2 weeks.
Not this week. We're way too busy.
Maybe James will play Planet Crafter because he wanted to. We'll see.
Oh, I forgot about that game.
You really wanted to play it.
I was excited about it, and then I forgot about it.
Well, they're not out yet. They'll probably actually. I would not be surprised if one of the bendy games drops during Halloween.
Come out during Halloween.
And I only make him play bendy games because he's played all the other bendy games. So, that's why. It's kind of like continuing it. It's kind of like why I have to play the Poppy games, because I'm the one that started playing the Poppy games. But yeah. We'll do our best, as we've always done. I know it's been a rough couple years for the channel, but at least we can still get you podcasts. Bye, everybody.